Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice little six-game slate for you, for DraftKings and FanDuel for the NBA. We do have some pretty good games here. However, there are lots of injuries. I do like DraftKings a lot better than FanDuel today. I don't even think I'm gonna play FanDuel. I will be breaking it down though for you. But overall, I do like DraftKings a lot better. Everybody's priced better here than over on FanDuel. So let's get into the injury report. Before I do that, can you guys like, smash, and subscribe? Sorry, smash that like and subscribe button. Also, check out the Discord. We have a cool little Discord here. We got lineup discussions. I also have NBA news. It's going to update our injury situations throughout the day, so keep track there. With that said, let's get into the injury report, though. For the Thunder, Pokuševski and JRE are out. For the Bucks, Middleton and Allen are questionable, and Ingles is doubtful. That could open up some opportunity here. We'll have to wait and see what those injuries look like. But it definitely could make a Drew Holiday a little bit more interesting. Then we're going to look at the Heat, and we have Hero, Lowry, Martin, Dedmon, Robinson, and Jovic all out. This should actually open up some ability here, except for the fact that everybody's priced up a little bit today, and they have a tougher matchup against the Bucks, who should be in pretty good shape. For the Celtics, Smart and Horford are both questionable. For the Nets, Durant is out. For the Hornets, Oubre is out and Hayward is doubtful. For the Mavs, Powell is questionable. DFS is out and Kleber is out. For the Lakers, Davis, Walker, and Reeves are all out. LeBron and Westbrook are probable, and Beverly is questionable. If Beverly was to be ruled out, that could definitely change some things. And then for the Cavs, Rubio is questionable. It could be his first game of the season. Allen is probable and Wade is out. And then for the Trailblazers, Lillard is questionable and Winslow is out. So obviously some situations there that could definitely influence how we build our lineup push to lock. One of the strategy things that people ask me about is when I build lineups. I typically build lineups about an hour before the lock of the slate, and I keep track of injuries live as I'm building and then make adjustments as injury information comes out. I don't even try to build early in the day simply because so much changes throughout the day. Not to say that the core plays change that much because they don't, but the plays, for instance, let's say that Damian Lillard is out today. Well, then that would change up a lot of potential for like Nurkic and also for uh, Grant and maybe some guards for them as well. And so we're probably not going to get that information until closer to the slate lock. And being that that game is probably the late game on the slate at 10 o'clock, it's probably something we may not even get until right before lock or even after. And so making adjustments later is actually the best way. And even worrying about trying to build a lineup at this point, like at, well, noon, it's just not something I really even do. I just look, for my core plays and the guys I'm going to focus on, and then make adjustments based on the situational aspect later on throughout the day. So with that said, let's get into the players I do like here. We're going to start with, let me go ahead and get through the teams real quick. So I have Philly over Oklahoma City. I have Milwaukee over Miami. Miami shorthanded. Toronto over Charlotte. Boston over Brooklyn. Dallas over the Lakers. And Cleveland over Portland. Some of these games might be kind of blowout-like, but we'll have to see how they play out. Let's go ahead and get started. The players I do like, though. We're going to start with, I gotta change this. Vincent here for Miami. Now, he has been tasked with more minutes as a result of the injury situation on Miami. So many guys are out. And as long as he ends up starting today, he would definitely be in go again. His price has come up some, so that he's not a uber lock, but he is still a decent lock on the slate. My next option here is going to be Seth Curry. Now, Seth Curry is interesting because he is a scoring dependent guard, but if he ends up starting because of Durant being out, he would definitely be viable. But you want to make sure he starts because I want him to play at least 20 minutes to, potentially pay off here. But his price is really nice, and with Durant out, he could get more run. Kyrie Irving also looks really good today. He's been playing really consistent lately. He's had a lot of games right around where we need him to be on the slate, and his price hasn't really popped up as a result of the situation because despite the fact that he's got a decent matchup here against Boston guards, I expect him to play well in this game and carry the offense. Then we'll look at O'Neal for Brooklyn, another guy who is likely to start here. He's been playing a full complement of minutes, and with Durant out, he should get an extension and the quality of gameplay overall, and he should have more minutes and more usage. Then we'll look at Ben Simmons, who I really like today. His price is just too cheap for his potential. I can't believe that I've actually used Ben Simmons in DFS recently, but hey, that's what's happening with the injury situations this year. He's had some really big games when guys are out this season, and I expect that to continue today. It is a little bit of a tough matchup here against the forwards for Boston, but overall, I still think he's got great opportunity in this matchup with Durant out. Max Struss, his price has come up quite a bit, but he does have some upside here, though his floor is not ideal for this situation, so he's not a core play, but he is a guy to take in consideration with all the injuries to Miami. However, I could see Milwaukee just blowing Miami out of the water. Just depends on how, Giannis plays and stuff like that. And then we're going to look at LeBron, who's been playing absolutely great basketball. The last 4 games, and he's also been leading the Lakers to win each of those games. And I expect him to attempt to continue that today. Scoring over 30 real points is going to go a long way here, and getting rebounds and stuff like that. He has double-double and triple-double potential in this matchup against Dallas, who I could see him and Doncic going back and forth throughout the game. And so I do think he's a valuable option on the slate. And I do think that you're going to have some value options open up as we get injury situations. And so you're going to be able to afford him. He's my favorite play over $10,000 today on this particular slate, assuming he ends up playing. Sometimes he just sits out. Then we're going to look at Nicholas Claxton. Now, you do want to make sure that he's good to go today. He has been a little bit beat up the last few games, but he has played really well despite that. His ceiling is pretty good, and his floor, while it's a little bit lower than I would really like it to be, being around the 20-point range, I think he's viable on the slate in this matchup, especially if Horford ends up getting out, because Horford is the best defensive player for the Boston Celtics and the inside presence. Then we'll look at Joel Embiid. Now, he's my second favorite expensive player. He's been playing really well, except for the fact he got hurt a couple games ago, so he took a couple games off. But he's back, and he's playing well. He only played 24 minutes last game and scored 55 fantasy points, which is utterly ridiculous. Obviously, I'd like him if he was playing over 30 minutes more so than if he's stuck in the 25 to 30-minute range. But with that said, he has extremely high upside. He has a pretty good floor considering the fact that he's playing really good, but the exception risk here is the injuries, stuff like that. But he's got a perfect matchup to just explode and have a massive game. But, obviously if Philly gets way ahead early, that could influence his minutes. And so he is a little bit of a concern from that perspective, but overall he's a viable option on the slate. And then finally, Mason Plumlee also looks really interesting today. He's just been pretty consistent lately. His price is still pretty good. Getting over 6,000 is a little bit of a stretch for him, but overall he's played well lately, and so as long as he continues to play well, he's going to be somebody to take in consideration. Now we're going to get over to FanDuel. Now, like I said, I don't really like FanDuel today. I'm not going to be playing here, but there's not as much value plays available. But we're going to go ahead and look at the guys anyway. So we're going to look at Gabe Vincent here for Miami. Now, his price point is kind of capped as to how much I would want to spend for him. But he has some upside with his situation where he should play around 30 or so minutes. So we'll have to see, though. But he hasn't really had that big explosive game this season. And while he should get plenty of minutes today, he is capped a little bit. So he's not a must-play on this situation in this matchup. Now, I actually like Luka pretty good over here on FanDuel because he does get some bonuses for steals and stuff, which has really propelled some of his games. But overall, I think he's viable on both sites, but he's more viable here where there's less quality upside expensive players when it comes to the prices. Like LeBron's more expensive and Embiid's more expensive. They're still viable, but he's also viable over here on FanDuel because of the price differences not being so much. Oladipo, also for Miami, looks pretty interesting today. He's a little bit cheaper actually here on FanDuel than DraftKings, which is unusual, but he's played really well with the guys out for Miami, and he should get a full complement of minutes today, especially after a couple of days off. And so I expect him to play well in this one and score over 30 fantasy points. Then we'll look at Jimmy Butler, who's played really well last game for Miami with the guys out. I expect that to continue here. he's going to have to carry the offense. Now, Bam may be back, so that would definitely help. Should be back, so that should help alleviate some of that requirement, but he still has some nice upside in this matchup. LeBron also looks interesting today. If he does end up playing, he should be a viable option. He's played really well, but he's not as good here on FanDuel as he is on DraftKings, simply because he really doesn't get the peripheral blocks and steals that we would like, and he's been missing on the double doubles most games, and a lot of games as well. So he that does kind of cap his points, and he's a little bit more expensive here. Royce O'Neal also looks interesting for Brooklyn. Sorry, he has some nice upside at this price point, and he should get full complement of minutes. Just make sure he starts. Bam Adebayo also looks interesting here on FanDuel. He has some nice upside in this matchup with all the guys out from Miami. He should get a full complement of minutes, presuming he ends up playing. And then Joel Embiid also looks really interesting. Obviously, his minutes have been under 30 minutes 2 of the last 3 games he's played because he got hurt for a few games, but he's back here, and if he plays the full complement of minutes, he'll definitely pay off. But his price is a little bit higher than it is on FanDuel, or sorry, on DraftKings, and so it's not quite as easy to roster him as it is over there. And then we're gonna look at Pascal Siakam, who has some nice upside in this matchup with, but everybody's fully back there, so they should be playing better as a team. And I expect him to get in a groove where he starts scoring over 50 fantasy points again. He's kind of been on a little bit of a slump with all the injuries to the team, but overall he should be good to go in this game and a plus matchup against Charlotte. Now, there's several players that I liked on FanDuel I don't really like on DraftKings, or sorry, on DraftKings I don't like on FanDuel, rather, which were Plumlee and Claxton and Simmons. They're all just more expensive by a lot on FanDuel. Makes them really hard to roster. There's really just not a great ton of value options on FanDuel at all today. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them below. Have a nice day, guys.